Germany is seeking to recruit 5,000 trained nurses from all over Africa, especially from South Africa. Emphasis is especially on South Africa. Why South Africa? What is special about the nurses in South Africa? That is the question. But the question again, are South African nurses willing to relocate to Germany to continue their career? That is another thing. Hi beautiful people, welcome back again to the space. This is your girl Tina with a little bit of everything. In case you are seeing this face for the very first time, like I do say, please do not make it your last. Do well to subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you always be the first to get notified when I upload a video. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for always stopping by to come watch my videos. There's nothing like being comfortable in your country. I have some South African friends that when you ask them, are you willing to relocate to maybe Germany, Canada, like any other country, they will tell you, oh no, I am comfortable in my country. Like the peace in being in your country, you are not scared of anything. Like that is some of my South Africans, they tell you, oh, I am very comfortable in my country. But recently in the news, Germany is seeking to recruit 5,000 nurses, 5,000 from all over Africa, but emphasis is on South Africa, especially from South Africa. Now you'll be wondering why South Africa, what is special about South Africa? The truth is that being in South Africa or schooling in South Africa is equivalent to schooling in Canada, schooling in Germany, schooling in any other Europe country. That is the equivalent. That is the rank. That is the rank. Anyway, Germany is seeking to recruit 5,000 nurses from all over Africa, especially from South Africa. Now let's watch the video. This video is from ENCA, right? So let's watch the video.
Germany is in talks with the South African government to employ SA-trained nurses to fill vacancies in that country. Germany, which is Europe's largest economy, is reportedly seeking to recruit 500,000 nurses from Africa, including South Africa, to deal with the apparent shortages in its health system. Now, the news has brought attention to the country's own challenges, considering South Africa's own high number of vacancies in the country's hospitals. In 2022, it was reported that in Gauteng, for example, provincial hospitals should have 3,340 intensive care unit, that's ICU nurses, but only have 659 ICU nurses working, and no new ICU nurses have been trained since 2019. The Democratic Nursing Organization of South Africa, that's DENOSA spokesperson, Sibongiseni Derihlazo, joins us now to talk about this. It's good to have you. Thanks for joining us for a very, very important discussion here.
Good morning to you, Leanne. Thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers at home.
So, Sibongiseni, what is DENOSA's view on this particular matter? I mean, can the country afford to have such a high number of nurses migrate to Europe without creating a shortage crisis in the country, which, if I am not mistaken, we are in a shortage crisis already?
Well, indeed. Look, these places are in a very difficult position. Yes, as you have rightfully mentioned, we've got a serious shortage of nurses in South Africa, but the shortage of nurses really is a global challenge. It affects both the low-income, mid-income, as well as high-income countries. Now, how those countries respond to this shortage, or of course, will always differ according to their economic muscle. Now, it's quite pleasing that Germany is really doing something about this. I wish I would say the same about South Africa, but unfortunately, we're not as fast in terms of responding to the current challenge of nursing shortage in South Africa. In fact, we even have nurses who are unemployed, which is a bit of a disjuncture, and it confuses the community out there. You are not having budgets in provinces increased according to the increase in the population figures and the burden of disease, and yet countries like Germany are doing honorable things by approaching countries like South Africa and say, let's talk about how we can address our issues in a way that will also address your issues. So we are quite pleased that Germany is talking to South Africa, but we are hoping, of course, that the talks will be of mutual benefits between the two countries. It will be saddened as DENOSA if South Africa would continue working on this current path whereby nurses are poached by the developed countries, and we're losing skilled nurses with good experience at a time that we don't have enough nurses in the country.
Help me understand, let's perhaps talk a few numbers. How many nurses do South Africa have at the moment that are working in the industry right now?
It's a very difficult question to answer, Leanne, because we don't have real specifics in terms of the numbers. What we have, and if you were to look at the South African Nursing Council, the number of nurses that we have in the country, those nurses who are able to work as nurses, is 208,000. But of course, those nurses work also in overseas, and it also includes nurses who are retired. And it also includes nurses who are in management positions, who are not working on the bedside, for instance. So it's a difficult question to answer, and we wish that the South African Nursing Council, which is the regulatory body for nursing in the country, would really try to specify the statistics so that everybody will be able to know how many nurses are working in our healthcare facilities. And also, we also wish that what you call nurse-to-patient ratios would be done by the South African Nursing Council. Fortunately, it has done the same on the teacher-to-nurse-student ratios recently. We're hoping that it does the same because countries like Germany have got all those statistics in place. That is why they feel pushed that they must address their current challenges.
Yeah, and that's a concern if we don't even have those numbers, because I was reading an article, it was published by Bloomberg, where they interviewed Richard Friedland. He, of course, is the CEO of Netcare, that's the private hospital group, saying that, according to their figures, that we are at least between 26,000 to 62,000 nurses short of where we should be. And that is a dramatic figure. I mean, we could say that we're in a critical condition and we desperately need to keep these nurses.
Well, I'm afraid that is the fact. And in fact, more crisis awaits us as a country. In the next 10 to 15 years, Leanne, half the population of our nursing in the country will be retiring in the next 10 to 15 years. And at the current moment, we're not increasing the numbers of nurses that we are teaching at our colleges and universities. Now, by the time we reach that in the next 10 to 15 years, and we will not have produced enough nurses for the country, we'll be reaching catastrophic levels of shortage. And we're also competing with developed countries who are pushing South African nursing, as I mentioned earlier. So it is quite a tight corner that South Africa is finding itself in. Unfortunately, we're not pleased with the commitment of our government in as far as addressing this issue. We are still having a bigger program like National Health Insurance. And of course, there were pilots that were done. And what was identified was a need to increase the staffing levels, the working conditions. These are push factors because nurses are yearning for their colleagues. They must be employed. They're also yearning for better working conditions. This is what makes many nurses to pack their bags. And many nurses have got their bags packed and are ready to leave this country. And we're not going to get those nurses back. And once they leave this country, there's nothing that will keep these nurses into South Africa for as long as these conditions are not improved.
And this is the reality, because at the end of the day, one would obviously have to understand the different packages that they will receive, and I suppose money talks as well. The reality is that if they are moving and they are getting better packages and better circumstances if they do move over to Germany, as we've been hearing, I think nurses would take that, because there has been many calls from unions such as yourselves for the treatment of medical professionals, and in particular nurses, who firstly are very much so underpaid, overworked, and the health department are just not coming to the table to try and resolve this situation. So, I mean, in your opinion, I imagine this is a great opportunity.
So I don't actually know if South Africa Health Organization will allow this. But from the kind of country I am from, this kind of opportunity, they don't joke with it. Like, they grab it immediately, because they are already looking for a way to leave the country, From my kind of country, like from my country and other African country, they are already looking for a way to leave the country. That's why most times you go to hospitals, you see that there are already shortage of nurses. Doctors are not there. Immediately they graduate, they just want to leave the country, because they believe that in all those foreign countries, they take care of the nurses, the doctors, and they pay very well. I don't know. So I don't know if South African government, or rather South African Health Organization, will allow their nurses to relocate. Like, I don't know. So I'm just saying, if it's possible, you know, if it's possible. But from my kind of country, they don't joke with this opportunity. Like, they grab it immediately once they hear about it and they are qualified for this recruitment. They cannot waste time. Like, they move immediately. Anyway, only God knows why these people are actually looking for African trained nurses. You know, I believe Africans, we are very powerful in everything we do. The commitment, the zeal, the skills, everything. Africa is very powerful in everything they do. And the fact is that Africans, they don't know that the war envy them. They don't know. We just want to be fighting each other. But that's by the way. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. In case you're seeing this face for the very first time, like I do say, please do not make it your last. Thank you again for watching the video. Bye for now.